about that gameplay trailer, huh? That was pretty darn incredible. Today, I want to go over some of the details you may have missed in the trailer, as well as go over some of the things that were shown off that you may not have noticed in the sheer awesomeness that was Battlefield 2042's gameplay. So without further ado, if you do enjoy today's video, remember to leave it a nice, thick, and juicy like as always. Of course, if you enjoy this kind of content, you want more like it, be sure to hit that big red sexy subscribe button right underneath the video. Also got to shout out my channel members. You guys help make these videos possible. Thank you so very much. If you want to join and get access to the exclusive perks that they get, be sure to check out the link in the description or hit the blue join button. Anyway, let's get into these details. So the first part of the trailer, when it actually gets through that little intro snippets and then gets into it, we do get some reference to the Russian troops falling back from the comms guy. This sounds like within the game it will just be the US faction versus the Russian faction, and then within you have the specialists that are sighted within either faction. So that's what it sounds like to me. This also made me think that the gameplay we saw was from a breakthrough match, as it seemed obviously got the Russians falling back, and then you can tell from obviously the vehicles and the soldiers on the ground they're pushing forward. It just seemed like a breakthrough. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully we get some backstory as to why we're there in the first place. We also get a good look at the HUD here. It's very reminiscent of BF4's HUD, but it's much cleaner. It looks a little bit more modern and almost a little bit more futuristic. Obviously this game is slightly futuristic. I gotta say it looks very, very clean and very, very clear. Also down in the corner, you can see a quad bike doing a fun little jump off of the building as we advance. This again just goes back to Battlefield just being about having fun, doing crazy things like that. There will be more of this throughout the trailer, and I'll show that off as we go. As we go to the view of the helicopter, we can see that unlimited vehicle ammo is back. This hopefully means that attrition as a whole is completely gone. Please, thank you. I hope it's just gone for good for both vehicles and infantry. I think this would be a great move. And then in the next few scenes, we do see a helicopter go down in a very cinematic way, doing its little death spiral. Looked very cool, very Battlefield. I enjoyed it. After that, we see a couple of important details in this next little scene here. One is, of course, the grappling hook. I think that's the most obvious thing. You guys probably noticed that more than anything, but as the grappling hook goes flying up, which means traversal is going to be insane in this game, we can see the start and completion of one of the third-person takedowns. And I was very worried that the third-person takedowns are going to be super over the top like they are in Warzone, but here it looks like they're very quick and efficient, and you can, get them done and then keep going as soon as possible. I really like that. That was my big worry, but to see it here, I really, really am glad that it's like this and not some over-the-top ridiculous stuff, because I want to be able to have a cool takedown and then keep moving with the fight. There's too many players here and within proximity to have to stop and go through this huge animation, and that's a theme that you'll see throughout the trailer. Is these unnecessarily long animations that we had in Battlefield 5 are completely gone. Hopefully that's how it is throughout the rest of the game. After this, we get our first look at a massive sandstorm from the point of view of an Osprey pilot. Now it looks like these weather events are going to make a major impact on how you approach each and every match, but it doesn't look like it's going to impede gameplay in an extremely annoying way. What I mean is, as we saw at the beginning of the trailer, this match started out in this clear kind of daytime setting, but as the sandstorm sets in, you can tell it goes to this almost hazy, obviously the sun's still out, but it almost looks like it is nighttime because of the sandstorm. It's that intense. So that's obviously going to impact how you want to approach your future engagements. If it's big, open, and sunny, you're more likely to equip maybe a long scope and grab a DMR or a sniper rifle, whereas once it gets hazy, those engagements start to get closer and closer, so you're going to want to switch over to something with maybe a higher rate of fire and maybe something with a reflex sight on it, or something that's much more suited for CQB. So that's what I mean by that, but it doesn't look like it's just, oh, here comes a storm and then everyone just dies on the map for no reason. It's nothing like that. So I really like that kind of choice, and I can't wait to honestly experience what these storms are like on the server. I'm sure everyone's going to stop in awe of how massive that they are. In the next scene, we do see a tank getting called in by someone, so we kind of get to see an example of what it's like when someone needs to call in a vehicle. They just drop it down, it does this little cool rocket animation, and then they hop in. After that, you can see the point of view of the person who called in the tank. They begin their little push towards objective C1. Now, it is interesting to see these divided objectives because I wonder how it's actually going to work. I'm sure obviously they didn't want to go like A to Z on all the objectives and name them that way, so that could be why you have a C1, a C2, a C3, that kind of a deal going on. But it also makes me wonder, do you have to control a majority of those smaller objectives within the larger objective to actually control it? Or then I do want to point out the tank rolling over this car because it looks amazing. I mean, I was just in awe at the detail here, rather than like in the older games where you'd roll over something in a tank, it just kind of explodes and does its own preset animation. This looks like it's actually kind of molding with the shape of the tank's tracks over it. It's a very nice looking animation, and it's just a testament to how impressive the technology is now for some of these games. After that, we see a massive tornado that has spawned within the giant sandstorm, so it looks like Sandstorm isn't the only thing going on in Doha. I wonder if it'll be like this on other maps where you have not just, say, a tropical storm coming in, but also tornadoes. It does make sense in real life. I mean, I've been through a lot of hurricanes. Hurricanes do spawn off tornadoes. It happens, so it's not totally unrealistic for that kind of a thing to happen, but it is interesting that this is what happens within the gameplay. It's not just one set weather event is going to happen here. And then I'm sure, like they described with the exploding rockets and the tornadoes, is it probably won't happen every single match. It's just something that happens randomly and you don't know when or if it will happen, which seems like another way to keep players on their toes within each match. The storm does seem to affect vehicles, as we see a helicopter come flying through on a strafing run, and it seems to get blown into a building, but the infantry on the ground, even though you hear some yelling like, "Big storm, we need to get inside," they seem to stick to the ground pretty well. There's another example of this later in the trailer, but it just seems interesting how they kind of balance this. I gotta say, I kind of like it. It semi makes sense. You know, you can have different wind intensities. I don't know. I can suspend my disbelief for it, but we'll just have to see how exactly that's going to work. After this, our soldier runs inside. He gets into the elevator, and that's when we get to see the plus system for the first time. Again, the straying away from unnecessary animations is something I really like. This seems to be a very quick, efficient way to prepare yourself for an upcoming engagement, which I really enjoy. Obviously, you get in the elevator, you want to switch from something that's going to be more useful outside and more flat open terrain to something that's going to be more useful for indoor urban combat in CQB. That's what we see here. And honestly, I'm very excited to see how quickly this works with a controller, because obviously on PC you're a little bit, you got a little bit more control over how you do those things. Controller, it's going to be interesting how they map it out so that you can do this quickly and efficiently, because this looks like it's going to be extremely useful. Next scene, obviously we got in the elevator, we get out now, we're on the roof. The tornado is raging relatively close, and again, there's no infantry being pulled off the roof. Honestly, I really like the chaos of it. Then we get the C4 Jeep. That's right, they're back, baby. And they're much more explosive than they were in the reveal trailer. So we see them launch off, pull the trigger, boom, down goes the helicopter. I can't wait to try and pull one of these off within the game. It's gonna be so much fun. After that, we see the zip lines. They're also here for building to building traversal, which I think is a genius idea for efficient movement around the map. And it's gonna be very important on these giant maps, as it can help with things like roof campers. You're not gonna have people who just stay on one roof because no one can really touch them unless they get in a helicopter or something. You can actually move rooftop to rooftop. Again, I really like that. It makes movement much more efficient, and it makes it much easier on these much larger maps to get into the action. I also want to point out within this scene that the Chris Vector that is being fired here, it's burst firing. And while we don't know everything about the gunplay that's coming to the game, it does seem to hint that maybe we have this BF3, BF4 style gunplay returning, as of course burst firing was pretty big in those games, whereas you have BF1 and BF5, it's not really as huge of a thing. You don't have to worry about having to, you know, in BF1 you really had no control over your spread. You could a little bit with burst firing, but it wasn't as precise as it was in BF3 and 4. And then in BF5 you had random recoil mixed with laser aim. Not as great after all the patches that they kind of messed up the gunplay there, but initially it was a good gunplay system in BF5. You pretty much didn't have any spread. It was just your gun goes where you aim it. So it looks like a return to BF3 and BF4 type of gunplay is all I'm saying here. It's a bit of a reach, but I'm willing to make that reach. After that, we leap off the building and wingsuit by the storm. This looks incredible. Just this whole sequence of flying off the roof and then going into the wingsuit. I gotta say, between this, the zip lines, and the grappling hook, they've definitely valued a good traversal system system a lot in this game, and I think it's just a good understanding of how big these maps are going to be, how many players you're going to have, and how many are going to be playing things like infantry as they want to go around in these various experiences. Obviously, you have vehicles, but not everyone can be in a vehicle. So like I said, they very much valued that infantry traversal, and I think that's an excellent thing to help reduce those moments where you're just kind of running in empty space. Again, I think it's a genius idea, and I can't wait to see everything that the game has to offer. Now we do run through a couple of more scenes that show the chaos of being up close and personal with the tornado. We see an Osprey being sucked away by it. Again, vehicles seem to be affected much more than the infantry that's on the ground. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't a few parachutes just swirling around in this tornado here. This would make sense. Obviously, if you parachute near a tornado, it's probably going to catch you up. I wonder if there's a way to get out of that, or if you're going to have to redeploy, or how exactly that's going to work. Gonna have to probably wait till the beta or see some of the alpha gameplay from, I assume, the Game Changers to be able to see how that works, but it does seem very, very interesting to say the least. Lastly, we do get some glimpses of the other maps, starting with, of course, Breakaway teasing the big jump, and then, of course, a tank on Discarded before a couple of indoor shots, and then finally we see Elon's rocket blasting off before the trailer ends. Personally, for me, this trailer was incredible. It showed off so many things, and I'm thrilled with it. Let me know down below what you guys think of the gameplay trailer. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, leave a nice, thick, and juicy like, and I'll see you guys in the next video.